The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you in part by Mays Sandwich Shop, serving delicious hometown favorites to the West Lawn community since 1947. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, bringing you the latest news and commentary on baseball.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Hockey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup.
College football.
The Big Ten championship lies on a measurement.
Did he get it? No! He didn't get it! Penn State home!
They brought back the fun, they brought back the excitement, and now they've brought back a Big Ten championship. The Penn State Nittany Lions are Big Ten champions.
And the NFL.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth! What a comeback!
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 249th episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting next to me, my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be back. You know, we're getting in the groove here talking NFL now that kind of our other shows are on hiatus, let's say, for a little bit, at least the other fall football shows. So, yeah, kind of getting in the groove here, and things are getting exciting in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. We're coming out with, I think actual division leaders in a lot of places, or some divisions that have become a three-team race, and we're going to get more clarity tonight in the NFC, and maybe a team pulling away tomorrow in the AFC. But first, we're going to start with Thursday night football, which saw the hopes of one team, I think, squashed, and it wasn't the team that I think many expected to see drop out of the playoff race. And do you have an opinion of which team you would have liked to see get stomped on a little bit lose hope?
I absolutely wish the Cowboys would have lost. If the Cowboys lose, Eagles would have clinched the division in November. But the Cowboys won, and I picked this one right. I had been burned by the Cowboys a couple weeks. I picked the Cowboys over the Eagles, but I kept expecting the Cowboys to kind of put it together. I know they've talked about the injuries there and those other things, but they're still good enough, and they have enough there that they should be doing better than they were. And I think this team was still, and people see this and they're like, oh, 38-14, oh man, they really laid it on them.
No, it was close.
The Redskins gave the game away too. They had 3 turnovers in the first half, including a drop that would have been, or a deflection inside the 5 that would have that gave the ball to the Cowboys instead of a score for the Redskins. The Redskins did everything they could to lose this game, and it was still close for a while, and then the Cowboys put it away late. But they're alive at 6-6, and the Redskins. Well, they're done at 5-7.
Yeah,
they're in big trouble.
That's only one game behind where Dallas is,
but they'd have to win out.
To get to 9-7.
Yeah, they got to go 5-0 here. Well, no, 9-7. Yeah, 4-0 to finish out. I just don't know that this Redskins team has it in them. I was kind of surprised, one, that they gave up 38 points, but the other that they only scored 14. That's not good. After the last 2 weeks, teams scored much higher, maybe both in the 30s against the Cowboys, when neither of those teams had a kicker after the first quarter. That. I don't know. The Redskins kind of got exposed here. Like I said, there were a few mistakes early on, but they've been back and forth. Kirk Cousins is just kind of finishing up. He's still putting up good numbers, not every game, but man, I think it was Josh Doxson. It might have been one of the other receivers.
Crowder.
No, it was Jamison Crowder. He fumbled on a punt. He's the one who tipped the ball. It hit him in both hands. He tipped it to the defender.
Nice.
And he had a fumble. Like another
Excellent.
fumble.
What a good Thursday night for him.
Yeah. So, when you do that, it's not really it's hard to overcome that.
And that was Dallas playing on back-to-back Thursdays as well.
Redskins too.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess that's how that worked out, so that both teams can play back-to-back on Thursday, with Dallas losing the week before to the Chargers, the Redskins beating the Giants on Thanksgiving. So Dallas still alive, although they're going to need help besides winning probably at least 3 of their next 4, if not all 4. They're going to need some of the other teams in the NFC to stumble, one of which did so today, losing at home to probably the second-best team in the NFC. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Falcons unable to score a touchdown, settling for 3 field goals.
Up the scoreboard last week.
Had a huge game last week, the Falcons did. This week, though, Julio Jones had less than 30 yards receiving.
Yeah, and like last week, I was like, this is the kind of game maybe gets the offense rolling. Nope. They looked awful. They looked absolutely terrible. And they missed some field goals in here. Man, there were missed kicks all over the place in the NFL today. But just brutal. That's a huge loss for the Falcons, especially with some of the other things that happened in the NFC South that we'll get to later. And the Vikings, man, they just keep winning. 8
in a row now.
Yeah. It's
Wins
unreal.
over the Chargers,
and
Falcons.
If the Eagles lose tonight, the Vikings take over first place.
They
would have the tiebreaker. Yeah.
Is that based on NFC?
I don't think so, because I think both teams have lost to an NFC team. The Vikings lost to Detroit and the Steelers. And the Eagles lost to Kansas City and no, that's it. They would have lost to Kansas City and Seattle if they lose tonight.
Right.
It might have to do with I don't even know. Maybe the strength of who you beat, or how many. I don't really know.
I don't know. If they're head-to-head and conference record, I'm not sure what the next step
They may have
is.
more NFC wins to this point, because I know the Eagles only have one AFC team left on the schedule. I don't know Minnesota's schedule. Well,
Minnesota has one.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is, but we'll see.
Vikings scheduled the rest of the way. Next Sunday, they go to Carolina. Not an easy game.
No.
Then they host Cincinnati before going to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers should be back by then. He's expected back December 17th. And then they finish hosting Chicago. So the schedule gets easier, but with Rodgers back, the game at Lambeau
and
isn't
not
a
just
given.
Rodgers back, but Rodgers back, and the Green Bay's kind of hung around there. I was a little surprised, but they're right there. They could be playing for a playoff game or a playoff spot. So.
And that is a Saturday night game
at
Lambeau. December 23rd, Christmas Eve.
That won't be cold.
Not at all. No, that should be a good game. That'll be an interesting one for sure. So, Texans-Titans, battle for AFC South. Texans needed a win to keep pace, or maybe think about the AFC wild card. Couldn't get it done. Little offense again. Titans do get it done, and they maintain pace with the Jaguars. And like we said, I've said it the last few weeks, Titans-Jaguars, Week 17.
Man, yeah.
That's a huge game.
But the Titans, to sum it up, I was talking to my dad about some of the games. He's like, wait, the Titans are 8-4? I'm like, yeah.
Right?
And he's like, oh, my gosh.
Well, let's take a look at their schedule.
Lots of ugly wins, but they've won.
Yeah, that's all that matters at the end of the day is the W. And the Titans have gotten it.
They were up 17-13 trying to run out the clock, and Derrick Henry runs it 75 yards for a touchdown. If you look, so they won this week, scored late. They beat Indianapolis. They had to score. I think they needed to score late last week, or
they were losing most of that game.
Yeah, so
they got destroyed by Pittsburgh.
Right.
They had to, I believe, come from behind to beat the Bengals.
Yeah.
They squeaked by the Ravens. That's a good win.
Yeah.
They barely beat Cleveland.
With no touchdowns.
Yeah, no touchdowns.
They beat Indianapolis the first time.
They lost to the Dolphins.
Right, and they got crushed by
That was without
Houston.
Mariota,
Yeah.
But Houston,
but
when Deshaun Watson was healthy, they got killed.
Man.
Right, but the rest of the schedule is favorable. They go to Arizona and San Francisco in back-to-back weeks before finishing with, come on.
It's the Rams. I think they always put LAC. I think I've picked up on it. I think it's LAC.
It is the Rams, yeah.
That's a big game.
Rams-Titans is a big game. Now,
Christmas Eve.
AFC, NFC crossover, so not as important as it is against the AFC teams for them, but they play 3 NFC teams in a row. So they really have already sewed up the AFC Conference tiebreaker, except for their season finale game that could end up deciding the division anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So I expect Tennessee at best to go 2-1 in the next 3, and really if they want to do that, they need to beat Arizona and San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree. Like they,
I don't see them beating the Rams.
no,
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't think they can score enough with the Rams to keep up. Like, yeah, I don't know. Titans are getting it done. It could be an exciting game against the Jaguars at the end, and I hope it's for the division. Just because that would make for a great game.
All right, we'll go a little bit backwards here, but stay in the AFC South. Colts, Jaguars. Jaguars got it done today with the arm of Blake Bortles.
Yeah, man, he lit up the Colts. This is exactly what this Jaguars team needed to do after they let one slip away last week that they should have won.
Yeah.
Or at least, as we talked on the show, should have at least, at a minimum, gone to overtime, and they just screwed it up really bad.
On a day when Fournette couldn't get going, the running game wasn't getting much done. At one point, I saw they were averaging 2 yards a carry, and that was late. That wasn't early. But Blake Bortles got it done today, and over 300 yards passing, and 30 points on the scoreboard. Defense kept the Colts to 10. I mean, I know the Indianapolis doesn't score a lot of points. So it's not a huge deal, but Jacksonville has one of the better defenses in the league. Now they get a big test next week with Seattle coming to town. They'll be coming off the game against Philadelphia tonight. Yeah. They'll stay at home in 2 weeks to take on Houston before finishing on the road back-to-back at San Francisco, and then the one that we just mentioned, going to Tennessee in what could be the AFC South Championship.
What's their record? Are they 8-4?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're 8-4. I don't know about Seattle. I'd say that's a toss-up. They need to beat Houston. They should beat San Francisco. And, that gets them to 10, maybe 11.
They're either 10-5 or 11-4. If they beat Seattle, then you would think they should beat Houston, San Francisco.
Right, and then all of a sudden they're at 12 wins, going for 12 wins against
that'll maybe third in the AFC behind Pittsburgh and New England, or New England and
Imagine
Pittsburgh.
going 12-4 and not getting a bye by 2 games.
Well, no,
possibly,
I guess one of them has to have a third loss.
Well, not technically. But
well, it could tie, I guess. Yeah.
Okay,
Donovan.
Wouldn't that be anticlimactic? Like next week? Oh man. Or 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks away. Yeah,
they play the Ravens
week 15
next
or 16?
I'm not sure, but I know
we'll check
Ravens Steelers is next week.
I don't have much to say about my team. I'm glad they put up 35 points, but a lot of it came on the defensive side. I think there was a pick six and 2 safeties in this game. You mentioned before the show, Miami up by 24, I think, and they kicked an onside kick. But whatever, neither of those teams are going to make the playoffs. I know the Dolphins' hopes are still alive, whereas I think Denver is pretty much done at 3-9.
Yeah.
But Miami, I think, is 5-7 now.
So if you're the Broncos, the question becomes: do you still try? Because we always talk about how this team is, a quarterback and an offense away from being able to kind of compete again because of the defense. I think defense is kind of just like the morale's beaten. Right, yeah. And I can't say I blame them.
John Elway called them all soft.
Right,
so.
Yeah. Do you consider blowing it up if you're Denver, or do you try and find a quarterback to kind of come in and take care of it?
You mean Kirk Cousins?
That's who I was thinking, but Eli?
Yeah.
Get the other Manning in there?
Maybe. Hey, it worked once before. Why not try it again? I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe. We'll see. It's tough to say.
Rumors are going around today that Eli's going to retire.
Yeah, I saw that.
He just crushed from the way the Giants handled it.
He obviously is not the same guy he was 5 years ago. Is he better than half the quarterbacks in the league, though?
He hasn't played like it for years.
Yeah, I know. I think he's mostly going on name now. I just don't know
absolutely.
That. And I'd hate to see, because I hate when veterans stay around a year or two too long and don't win, especially when they've been with the team for 13 seasons. See, I'd rather them just go out.
I thought that's why you liked Brett Favre.
Anyways, back to the Dolphins. They got their first win since October 22nd. I saw last week someone posted these teams participated in no-win November, and Miami was one of those teams.
That's nothing on my Eagles last year. I went 2 months.
2 months, yeah. So Miami's last win was October 22nd over the Jets. They then got destroyed in they lost in 3 straight primetime games, getting killed by Baltimore on Thursday night, losing in a close game to Oakland on Sunday night, and then looking awful on Monday night against the Panthers. They then couldn't beat the Buccaneers.
Hey, to be fair, I think that was supposed to be their bye. They just kind of played like it.
That was week 11 against Tampa Bay. Yeah, that was supposed to be their bye. They lost, and then they didn't look great last weekend against the Patriots, but they get the win today against Denver. Kenyon Drake looked good.
Finding his way into that role.
With Damian Williams hurting, not being effective, Kenyon Drake, 120 yards, a touchdown. He had a big run. Cutler doing enough, although he did have 2 interceptions, doing Jay Cutler things, and the defense played well. Now, Trevor Siemian was the quarterback, so it's not saying a ton, but if Miami wants any shot at the playoffs, sitting at 5-7, they have to probably win all 4 and get help. Unfortunately, they play New England on Monday night. They then have to go to Buffalo, to Kansas City, and then host Buffalo again. It's kind of crazy to think that Miami won't have played Buffalo at all in the first 14 weeks, and then they play them twice in the final 3 weeks. But the same thing happened with New England. Miami didn't play New England until the Thanksgiving weekend, and now they'll play them here.
Twice in 3 weeks,
Yep. But, I mean, I going into the year, I was not optimistic of Miami's potential. I think I said anywhere between 7-9 and 9-7. They're 5-7. If they can go 2-2, they're at the low end of my projection. And with the way the season started in August and early September, with all that was going on, I'm not gonna be happy with 7-9, but it's better than 4-12.
Right.
You know.
Well, you got to think 7-9, and we get our franchise quarterback, for better or worse. We get our franchise quarterback next year, right?
You think?
So,
but
maybe.
Right? Yeah, maybe. So. Yeah, that's the Dolphins. What's wrong with the Chiefs, man? Andy Reid gave up play calling. He's now no longer calling the offensive plays.
Scored 31 points.
They scored 31 points today.
38
to the Jets. To the Jets. Now, I know they're not as bad as we expected them to be to start the year.
Still not 38 points against a team that's supposed to be competing for a division and conference title.
A team that was 5-0, looking like maybe the best team in the NFL, is now 1-6 in their last 7, and in a 3-way tie in the AFC West. Although
including with a team that started 0-4.
Right. Although I do believe the Chiefs have the tiebreakers and are still technically in first place.
Not trending well though.
Not going in the right direction.
And I mean, what's going on? They went a couple weeks without scoring a touchdown, I think. Well, now they scored 31 points, and like I said, gave up 38 to the Jets. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's not what you're looking for. The Battle of the Bays in Green Bay went to overtime. Packers get the touchdown to seal it, 26-20 over Tampa Bay.
Big win for the Packers.
Big win for the Packers, and just a kind of nail in the coffin for Tampa Bay's season. Underachieving. The issues with Winston's health and Winston's off the field stuff.
Glad they got Lovie Smith out of there to help with the development of Jameis, right?
Certainly has helped a lot. So Green Bay, they're just kind of they're
hanging around, and Aaron Rodgers started practicing yesterday.
He's only going to miss one more game supposedly. Right. So let's take a look at Green Bay's schedule.
Before the Pittsburgh game, he was on the field throwing the ball 50 yards. So he'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're 6-6 right now, and we saw them go on a run last year. They won
6-6 with a tiebreaker over the Cowboys, I believe.
Do they have it?
Yeah, I think they beat the Cowboys earlier in the year.
All right. So Green Bay, they went toe-to-toe with Pittsburgh without Aaron Rodgers. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
They had gotten destroyed by Baltimore the week before, though.
Shut out.
Shut out at home.
First time since, the early 90s, I think.
Was it? Wow.
Shut out, 92, I think.
Now, they're going on a 2-game road trip here. One to Cleveland, which should be a win. If you lose that game, your season's over.
You deserve to not be.
I mean, at 6-7 with a loss to Cleveland, that's not getting it done. Aaron Rodgers returns, supposedly, at Carolina, which is a huge game because, assuming they win there, it's 7-6. Depending on what Carolina does in Week 14, they could be a game back, and a win there gives them an even record, but the tiebreaker. So that game against Carolina with the return of Aaron Rodgers on December 17th is huge. Then they finish it up with division rivals Vikings at Lambeau, and the Lions on New Year's Eve. Detroit is going in the wrong direction, however, opposite of what it looks like Green Bay is doing. Detroit lost 44-20 to the resurgent Ravens. Detroit had their act together going into the fourth, cutting it to a 7-point deficit, and all of a sudden Matthew Stafford got hurt, and the Ravens exploded and scored a total of 24 fourth-quarter points to get the win. And Baltimore,
don't look now.
Sneaky, man. I
Don't
don't
now.
like it. I don't like it.
7-5. They play the Steelers next week.
Yeah,
now,
huge
they're not
game.
going to catch the Steelers in the division, but that's a huge game.
But it's one of the. It reminds you of a few years ago when there was like 3 or 4 years in a row where the AFC North Division winner would lose to the runner-up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It happened to both of these teams, and maybe even throw Cincinnati in there. But I'm not a Ravens fan, so I don't like
and
this.
look at their schedule.
It's not exactly difficult.
Right,
Especially
so-
if they could beat Pittsburgh, they could end up at 11-5
Yeah.
and the 5th seed.
Yeah.
But who wants to play an 11-5 Ravens?
Yeah. 11-5, 5th seed. They're probably going to Oakland or LA in the first round.
Or Kansas City.
Right. Which, yeah.
Yeah, good luck, AFC West division winner there,
Yeah.
because you're looking at a red-hot
Yeah, it would be a
Ravens
red-hot
team.
Ravens team at that point, too, because they've won. They haven't lost since November 5th. So
Well, yeah, if they get by Pittsburgh, you got
they
to
would go
assume they're
2 months.
going
They
to
would
beat.
go the last 2 months without losing.
They're going to beat Cleveland, Indianapolis, and probably Cincinnati, especially because those last two are at home. Yeah, they won't have lost since a field goal setback on November 5th.
Yeah.
And really, other than that short loss to a team that's likely to make the playoffs,
Right.
they won't have had a bad loss since October 15th, because losing to Minnesota is not a bad loss.
No,
Minnesota's one of the best.
losing to Chicago.
But losing to
was a bad
Chicago,
loss.
that was when I think people thought Baltimore was done.
Right, yeah.
Because they've lost 2 games since then. But at that point, what were they? Like 3-3,
Yeah, something like
and
that.
losing to
Yep.
Chicago at home too. At home.
Yep.
So yeah, not what you wanted in mid-October, but here we are early December, and Baltimore is in the thick of it. And yeah, you could see an 10-6, 11-5 Baltimore team going to the AFC West division leader, winner, and I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. Although honestly, of the 3 teams that they could play, I would say they don't want to see the Chargers,
I would agree.
because the Raiders are too inconsistent. Kansas City's awful right now. I think the Chargers are the team that.
Well, and the Chargers have the most threats outside, kind of.
Right.
And
Gordon,
the best,
Allen,
right, and
Rivers,
so,
obviously.
I mean, I guess Oakland, in theory, has the best.
but they just
weapons,
haven't been
but they
doing
haven't
it.
been doing
yeah.
it.
Now Crabtree was suspended and Cooper was injured.
Right.
But Lynch hasn't been anything this year.
No, he did all right today.
Yeah, I played against him, so that was great.
That's why.
It's all right, I won. So, all right. New England went to Buffalo. Bills only put up 3 points. Tyrod Taylor was taken off on
And
a stretcher, not looking good.
Tom Brady set the NFL record for most wins of a quarterback against one franchise with another one, I believe. He's beaten the Bills 27 times.
Wow. For the second straight year, someone in the stands threw on an interesting thing onto the field.
We'll let you look that
Yeah,
one up
well,
on
you
your
can look
own.
that one up yourself. I'm not going to say what it was. It is phallic shaped, however. And I think it once again had Brady's name written on it, which makes me laugh every time that I saw. I remember watching it on Red Zone last year, and I think I immediately texted you, like, did you just see what happened in Buffalo against the Patriots? It was quite funny. Brady did not throw a touchdown pass today, and he is most likely to be without Rob Gronkowski for at least a week because he is a D-bag.
He should be. Oh, my gosh. That was such a dirty play. Such a dirty play. A few seconds after, out of bounds, guys on the ground, and Gronkowski, who's up, not on the ground,
Dives on him.
at his back and slams his shoulder into the back of the guy's head. Absolutely should be suspended for a game.
A rookie at half his size.
Yeah, if he's not, then New England has no right to complain about anything ever, right? Like, this gets you suspended. This is worse, like, in terms of, like, possibly injuring
This is
somebody.
worse than Crabtree against
Right,
Khalid.
right, because that's a fight, and they've done it before, so I get why they suspended him.
This is intent to injure.
Yeah, this is to hurt. They were just fighting because they were angry. No one was going to get hurt.
Right.
There's guys that are going to get hurt. Like that, you could end somebody's
career
career with that kind of stuff.
You hit someone in the wrong spot on their back.
Just to be clear, that hit basically took place in hockey a few years ago, and the guy was suspended like
20 games.
Yeah, like so.
a quarter of the season.
Oh, and he was taken, they filed charges against him.
Right.
Like, he had to go to court. Now, I'm not saying that should happen, but, Gronkowski should absolutely be suspended for a game.
I say for the rest of the regular season.
Yeah. I think you'd settle for one more game. Though,
What
right?
I want the NFL to do is to send him for 6, so that on appeal it's 3 or 4.
There you go.
Hey, that's fine. Because if you suspend him for 2, he's going to appeal and it'll probably be 1.
Right.
And then it's suspend him for 16. Let the appeal work it out. Say, all right, we'll take 4. Oh yes.
Oh my goodness.
So,
the guy who he hit should just be like, look,
Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, it should just be like, when I tipped that ball down, I'm pretty sure it was a little deflated. Like, he should just say it. He should just say it to get him going.
The Giants not led by Eli Manning for the first time since week 14 in 2004 or something like that.
I think the first game since 1997 that Manning hasn't been starting quarterback, at least one in the NFL.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, first time in 20 years, over 20 years, that a Manning wasn't a starting quarterback in an NFL game. Didn't go the Giants' way, and we are supposedly seeing the end of Ben McAdoo already, short of 2 seasons.
Tomorrow.
I have no idea where they're going to go with the coaching search, what they're going to do with quarterback, because Geno Smith is obviously not the answer. I'm surprised they're not looking at the rookie that they drafted, whose name now I cannot remember for the life of me.
Maybe they can call Tennessee for some tips on hiring.
Yeah, they're definitely ones to lead the way.
Yeah.
The Volunteers, they're not finding volunteers for that coaching job. The Raiders got the win, 24-17. They needed it.
Did not look great, though.
No, didn't look great. But, again, missing Crabtree and Cooper.
Win's a win.
But, yeah, win's a win. You needed it at home against a team that's going in the wrong direction. You're now in a tie with the Kansas City Chiefs and the L.A. Chargers, who they survived the Browns.
Play their competition.
19-10. Cleveland can't buy a win, but the Chargers are on a roll,
right,
and have to be the favorite, I think, in the AFC West. After starting 0-4, they're now 6-6, so 6-2 in their last 8. And they had a close loss to New England and a game that they probably should have beaten in Jacksonville, the Jaguars in Jacksonville. So really not a bad loss. Since maybe the loss to the Chiefs at the end of September, because you lost by 2 to the Eagles, you lose by 8 to the Patriots and 3 to the Jaguars, all teams that are going to make the playoffs. So,
and if you look at the remaining schedule, so they have,
that didn't update for some reason.
I was like, what's going on? So they have Washington in LA next week, so
they need to win that game,
right? Because they're tied. They pretty much need to win that one. Then they go to Kansas City. That's a huge game. Then they go to the Jets.
That's a trap game.
Right, absolutely, because they have Oakland the next week, which could very easily be for the division
title.
And the way things are trending here, it's hard to imagine one of these teams gets a wild card. So AFC West looks like division title or you're done.
Yeah, now, I mean, if one of them wins their last 4, 10-6, that might get it.
Right, but it would almost take 2 of them to do it.
Right, it would take, and I'm not sure that's possible,
it's
because I
not,
think they all play each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, you got to win the West if you're going to make the playoffs. The Chargers probably the favorite right now, but we've seen this story before. Any of those 3 teams still in it. The only one not are the Broncos. Robbie Gould's revenge today in Chicago.
I loved it.
I loved it only because he's a Penn Stater. Otherwise, it wouldn't have mattered much because the 49ers and Bears.
I liked it because I picked it.
Both out. I think I did too. Field goal fest. Robbie had all 5 field goals, all 15 points for San Francisco. Garoppolo's was this his starting debut?
Starting debut.
And it got a win, but against the Bears, who are now eliminated like themselves from playoff contention. Bears were leading for most of the game, 7-3 after the first, 14-9 at half, 14-12 to start the fourth, and then 49ers drove down the field right near the end of the game. Robbie Gould gets the field goal for the 49ers win, 15-14. In the NFC South, a hugely important game. New Orleans coming off a loss last week. Carolina looking to force a tie and take control of the South. Couldn't get it done. but it was in New Orleans in the Dome. We kind of expected it to go this way.
Yeah.
And the Saints get the win 31-21.
And now are a game up and have the tiebreaker with the Panthers.
Right. So New Orleans doesn't have any kind of hangover after their loss last week to the Rams by less than a touchdown.
Sitting at 9-3.
Yeah, surprising. I mean, remember they started 0-2 as well.
Yeah.
So 9-1 in their last 10, and the only loss being to the Rams, a very good
Who are
team.
also very good.
Yeah, they haven't. They swept the season series with the Panthers. And you look at those two losses to start the year, who they're against. And we may have talked about this last week,
Right.
but New Orleans lost at Minnesota and then to the Patriots. So I think all of their losses are to playoff teams.
Yeah, which is a quality.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it, and you look, they have. So this one didn't update either, but they have 3 of their last 4 at home, and they were home today.
No, they have 2 of their last 4 at home. They're at Atlanta next week.
Oh, sorry, I
yeah,
read
you were looking-
Mercedes-Benz, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Don't get.
Okay. So they're at Atlanta next week,
Yeah.
and then they're home for the next 2 against the Jets and Atlanta again. Man, they haven't played yet. That's crazy.
Yeah, they can end Atlanta's season.
Yeah. And I think somebody said they haven't won there since 2011 or 2013 or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a little while since they won at Atlanta.
So it's a big game.
This
If they
New
win,
Orleans team is the best team they've had in a while.
probably since 2009.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably since the Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
So Saints win next week at Atlanta. That's huge because they should beat the Jets and then the Falcons again 2 weeks later because they're both at home.
Yep.
New Orleans plays so much better at home.
And then they finish at Tampa.
And they finish
who's
at
gonna
Tampa,
be
who's
out of it.
Yeah, so this very well could be a 13-3 team, which may be third in the NFC
Imagine
behind
13-3, and you get the 6th seed coming out of the NFC, but as the wild card, you have to go to the Superdome. You know, like playing a 13-3 Saints team.
ouchie.
Kamara, man.
Yeah, man. No wonder
Yeah.
they got rid of Peterson. They
Yeah.
didn't need him
Oh,
between
my
Ingram
goodness.
and Kamara. Those guys have exploded since Peterson was shipped off. So, staying in the NFC staying in the NFC in an NFC West battle, the Rams eventually pulled away from the Cardinals. You know, it was a blowout at first, 16-0. LA led. Cardinals fought back to 19-13 at halftime in favor of LA. Then the Rams defense stepped up. The offense got a few more scores, and the Rams doubled up the Cardinals 32-16.
Yeah, and this is one of those where, man, I know we've talked about this a little bit, but I like Jeff Fisher as a coach, and I stood up for him for a long time. But if you look at the quarterbacks he had last year on this team, Case Keenum and Jared Goff, who are 2 of the top quarterbacks in the league this year.
Yeah,
And he had them
was
both, and they
definitely
were
wrong.
awful. Like, yeah, maybe it was time. And it's interesting how it was Martz. I can't think of his first name. Mike Martz, yeah. He wrote that book, and it was kind of critical of the Rams and hiring, Sean McVay and all those things.
It doesn't
It's
look
working
good
out
now.
all right for him, yeah.
Yeah. So after the win over the Cardinals today, they are 9-3 with huge games the next 3 weeks. Though we'll really know a lot about the Rams by the time Christmas rolls around because they get to host the Eagles next week. Then they go to Seattle and Tennessee in back-to-back weeks before finishing with the 49ers. So 9-3. With those 4 games left, if they finish, 12-4,
Yeah.
wow, and just think about those NFC teams.
12-4 would put him at the 3 seed with the Saints as the 2. No,
He'll
put him at the 4.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Because
my goodness.
you have the Eagles probably 14-2. You got to think right now with the way things are going.
Dude, I don't know. I picked them to lose tonight.
But even so the Eagles go 13-3. Say the Vikings are 13-3. The Saints are 13-3. The Rams are 12-4, and they're still the 4 seed.
You're right. You're right.
Like,
Wow.
so I mean, unless they can pull a miracle off against Philadelphia, then beat Seattle, Tennessee, if they run the table at their 13-3, they got that tiebreaker.
Eagles might be 12-4.
That would be that'd be 2-3 in their last 5. That wouldn't
Right.
have Philadelphia feeling very good.
No, but certainly possible.
So I don't think the game to just get underway. They're about 2 minutes in. Eagles 10-1 at Seahawks 7-4. I know Philly fans, at least the cynics among them, such as Justin here, You never pick you never pick the Eagles in big games like this.
Not big games, no. I picked them like last week against the Bears, but I never pick them in games like this.
Right. You picked the Cowboys against them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but like that was one. The Cowboys needed it. The Eagles didn't technically need that. Like at that time. This is one. The Seahawks need this. They needed to keep pace with the Rams,
especially because they got to play the Rams in 2 weeks.
Right. So you go through this. It's kind of interesting. Everybody's like, oh well, the Eagles they've played like the weakest record in the NFL. No, that's partially true. The Seahawks teams that they've played are the exact same record. So, it's not like there are other teams that have played poor schedules, and they've also won by 23 or more the last 4 weeks. So
yeah, if they could do that now, no team in NFL history has done that.
Right.
So if the Eagles can beat the Seahawks by 4 touchdowns, which if they do that, people are definitely going to be all over the bandwagon. If they're not there already,
if they were to win tonight by 4 touchdowns, oh my gosh, people would go nuts.
In Seattle,
people would lose their minds. It's not going to happen. They're not. They may win. They're not going to win that way. But yeah, we'll see. I said it last week. I'll say it this week. If they can split this week and the Rams, if they can go 1-1 in that, I'd be pleased. That's.
So get it out of the way here. Win this one, so the next week you're just like, whatever.
Well, that makes it easier. I think they're staying out west this week.
Why come home?
So we'll see. Yep, 1st and 10 at 34. It's all over. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe the Eagles got the ball and went 3 and out. Then it would really over.
Yeah.
So the Monday night game is an AFC North battle between the 9-2 Steelers and the 5-6 Bengals. Cincinnati all but done. I don't think officially eliminated, but pretty much gone.
Yeah, the biggest question in this game will be, is Vontaze Burfict going to kill someone?
I was going to say, is Antonio Brown going to play? But
that's probably a more relevant question. But
the Steelers are doing what they always do, start a little slow and then catch fire.
Yeah.
We'll see what they're made of, though, in 2 weeks.
The next couple weeks. They play the Ravens next week, I think.
You're right. Back-to-back, they have Baltimore and New England before finishing with Houston and Cleveland.
Yeah.
But they get both Baltimore and New England at home. So Pittsburgh plays the Monday night game this week, the Sunday night game next week, and I'm surprised that's not the Sunday night game.
It may not be yet.
Yeah.
I think they're only 2 weeks out that they do that, so they'll probably flex that
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
I was going to say, they could announce it as early as tomorrow. The Steelers would then be primetime 3 weeks in a row. I mean, so they get up to the Dolphins level finally, that the Steelers finally get to Miami's level and achieve 3 straight primetime games. Not too many teams can say that, So
That's true. That is true.
I'm very, very interested in the New England-Pittsburgh game. I think it's slanted because it'll be in Pittsburgh, but then again, I don't. Well, I mean, New England's had issues in Denver and Indy before, so right. And you heard on Mike Tomlin last week, I believe, kind of go a little unfiltered and not do so much coach speak like they usually do, and say that he's already looking forward to that game and how much it means. Which usually, I mean, Belichick would never say anything like that, but Tomlin knows what's at stake there with the game December 17th in Pittsburgh. And you're right. If these teams would win out, save for that game, the winner of that is the de facto regular season AFC champ, the number 1 seed, home field all the way until the Super Bowl.
So, we'll see. I mean,
go Pittsburgh.
I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
Are you sure? You sure you don't want to rethink that?
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. Oh, they held him to a field goal. All right. So you're saying there's a chance.
The game's not over. Philadelphia's still in this. It's not over. It's not over. 5 minutes into the game. Let's see the drive chart. Did they get the ball first? No. Elliott kicked it off. 1st and 10. They gave up a 3rd and 7. That's not what you want to see. They gave up a 3rd and 5. They gave up. Oh no, they didn't.
They held on 3rd.
They held on 3rd and 10. Blair Walsh hit the 46-yard field goal.
All right, well, that's good. Blair Walsh will miss them when it counts. We're good. We can hope, right?
Sure, why not? So, So that's the NFL action this week. A little bit quick and earlier for us than usual, but it's an odd weekend. So, we're getting down to the end of it.
Yeah,
this is week 13's all but over.
We're going to learn a lot about teams this week and next week, and kind of as we move these next couple weeks. I know we're closing in on the end, but some of these teams, like we said, you think you're starting to get a good idea, but there's some big tests, and we're really going to start to figure out who these teams are the next couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So, we look forward to our next show, which will be 2 weeks from now. We do not have a show next week, December 10th.
I'll still have to text you next Sunday.
We do not have a show next week. I will be at the Wilson Football Banquet, end of the year, celebrate the seniors and the season that they had. We'll be back in 2 weeks on December 17th, which is great because that is the weekend of Patriots Steelers.
Yeah.
And a huge game there. And, we'll get caught up with week 15 of NFL action, and we'll look ahead to week 16 and 17, clinching scenarios, what it comes down to. We mentioned a lot of the big games over the last few weeks, but we'll go over that again in 2 weeks, and playoff picture will be much clearer. Following that show, we most likely won't have a show until the new year because of the way the holidays stack up. We won't have a show on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So following episode 250 on December 17th, we'll be back in early 2018 for probably a 6-week run until we'll take some time off in the late winter, early spring, because it's been a marathon since August. And it's time for a little bit of a break.
Seeing you got a lot to do.
Yeah, so looking forward to the break in March. So,
perfect.
Good stuff.
It's fun. Hopefully the Eagles can pull one out tonight, but I picked against them, so hedging my bets, right?
Oh, well, hey, you got to do
As
that.
always, yep.
You want them to win, but if they don't, you picked against them, you get that win in the pool.
That's right.
And if they do win, who cares about the pool? Your team won.
Amen.
All right, so that wraps it up for us this week. Like I said, 2 weeks, December 17th, episode 250. I wish I could say we got something special to do, but I don't.
More of us.
It's just us. Make sure you visit us at jmnjrradio.com. Follow us on Twitter. Shout-outs, birthdays.
Not that I can think of.
Happy belated to my cousin Holly, celebrating just a few days ago. And I know I'll have something to say the next time we have a show.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But actually, crazy as it is to think, but next time we're on the show, and this has nothing to do with sports, I'll have seen The Last Jedi. Actually, will have as well.
What's that?
We're going to the 6
That was
p.m.
good restraint, because normally your response to that is something.
Well, I really just wanted to backhand you, but Justin, myself, and 6 other friends will be going to see the movie at the first available showing. And when we have our show in 2 weeks, I'll have seen it at least once, hopefully, maybe even a second time. I'm sure I'll have plenty to say about it. It's not like I'm excited, like you can tell over my right shoulder.
Yeah, no.
With everything on my walls and whatnot. So, any shout-outs, anything to say?
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us. This wraps up episode 249 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
We hope you tune in every Sunday for our take on sports. Until next time, I'm J-Raff.
And I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Tune in every Sunday for the latest sports discussions from Joe and Justin. Each episode is available live
on Facebook Live
and can be downloaded or streamed on iTunes and SoundCloud. You can interact with Joe and Justin on Facebook and Twitter, and stay up to date with the guys at joemaysandjraff.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is part of the JMNJR Radio Network. For more info, visit jmnjrradio.com.